story.
Yeah, my name is Frederick. I'm a native of Liberia, NDSU alum. Um, yeah, I currently work at Rodenberg Integrion, so
All right.
yeah,
Couple of
Thank you for calling the FBI. May I have your first and last name, please? So what is the federal crime we're calling to report to the FBI tonight, ma'am?
Internet threats.
You were threatened on the internet by who?
Frederick Jalla, Jallah.
And where did he threaten you at? On what platform?
It's on YouTube.
And what's his YouTube username?
His YouTube name is spelled POETIKFLAKKO.
Okay, so what was the threat he made to you, ma'am?
He says, quote, because I can't punch her in the mouth, I'll probably the bitch and destroy her insides, and I'll up the bitch's life.
All right, what's up, YouTube? It's your boy Trippy Playboy here, and we're finna get into this Poetic Flocco story. Poetic randomly showed up on No Jumper one day, and it just been causing mad chaos. And he slipped up on the third episode of the Monday show of No Jumper and put his first name out there, which, using his first name and him being African and from North Dakota, it wasn't really that hard to find him. And once I found him, it was a wormhole of information. Poetic Flocco, whose real name is Frederick Yala, was born in Monrovia, Liberia, and moved to America as a young kid and grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. Poetic Flocco, aka Frederick, has 9 siblings and 3 notable siblings who you can say are semi-famous. The sister, not so much. His first sibling, Frederick Edwards, and also the youngest sibling, is a motivational speaker who speaks out against gun violence in the African American community, and I guess you could say violence in general. He's had multiple TED Talks and, multiple speaking engagements that you can look up online. His second brother, whose name is Chocolate Puma, which I don't know if that's a real name, but Chocolat is a real name from what I see online, is an aspiring MMA fighter and also college graduate. He also has a sister named Patience Boley, who's a YouTuber, and she does, typical girl YouTuber stuff like clothes haul, makeup, tutorial type stuff. Frederick Yala, aka Poetic Flocco, went to North Dakota State University for biological sciences. While in college, he worked for a law firm as a content manager. And right after college, Flocco began his YouTube career. Now, in my research of Poetic Flocco, I came across 4 different instances where he had run-ins with the law, and they progressively just get worse. The first run-in was an eviction or destruction of property at an apartment that he shared with his sister, Patience, and the claim came from Goldmark Property Management, who was suing Flocco and his sister for about $3,000. Now, shit happens when you're a kid. It looks like, and behind on your rent is behind on your rent. It's not necessarily criminal, so it's more of a civil case, but otherwise very interesting. Flocco's second run-in with the law was his conviction, in which he pled guilty to theft from a taxi company. Now, why he stole from a taxi company, I will never know. I guess homie was just down bad. But again, you can see the court documents here, and they're available through the North Dakota case lookup. Just type in his name and boom, you got it. And this brings us to Poetic Flocco's third run-in with the law, in which it involves defamation of Leon Honor, in which Poetic Flocco accused him of being a closet homosexual. And apparently Leon claims that Poetic Flocco hired gay men from Craigslist. Can you believe that? Gay men from Craigslist to just talk down and rub smut on this man's name, because Leon Honor is a Dr. Umar, I guess you can say, hater in a sense, but he talks down on Dr. Umar and basically calls him a fraud, etc. And we all know that Poetic Flocco is a huge Dr. Umar stan. So here's a little excerpt of Leon Honor's allegations of Poetic Flocco and what he calls him a liar, XYZ, but I'll give you guys a moment to watch the video.
Cybersecurity. This is going to be a very serious live stream. This is just part one because this has gotten to the point where it's criminal. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now, that what has taken place and what has been taking place over the last couple of days with an individual by the name of Frederick Jalla. It is criminal, and the individuals who are participating in this criminal activity, they will be brought to justice. I'm going to say this right now, and I already talked to my wife about this, that I'm going to do everything in my power to have these individuals brought to justice. I've been trying to be kind and patient because I do not want to see a young man throw his life away. But we have people who are supporting him and encouraging, and they're using him. They really are. They're using him, and they're Umar Johnson followers and defenders. They're using him. And when justice is served, they will not be there to bail him out. I want to start by sharing with you all a video that surfaced recently. And this individual, Frederick Jalla, he has been active. He's been the word that always comes to mind is he's been very reckless. What I'm going to do is to illustrate a pattern of behavior with this individual, which culminated in a video that he showed yesterday, wherein he's interviewing a gay white male that he found on Craigslist. And this gay white male, who will also be brought to justice, tells this fanciful story of these sexual interactions with myself. See, it's gone too far. Justice will be served. I'm telling you, I'm going to bring this young man to justice. And I'm going to show you a pattern of behavior with this individual of doctoring information and making up information in order to fit a particular narrative.
So that was basically the consensus of the video. I'll post in the comment section below a link to the full video. It's about an hour long, and he just basically goes on accusing Flocco. And I know he mentioned that there was a part 2 to that video, but there wasn't. All right, so let's get into the fourth incident in which Poetic Flocco had a run-in with the law. The fourth incident has to be the craziest one out of all the other ones. You know, you had a civil case, you had, the criminal case with the theft, you had the allegation of defamation, but this one seems to be the most serious. A woman called the FBI and told them that she was sexually threatened by Poetic Flocco, in which he said that he was going to sexually assault her if he saw her. He said he would sexually assault a female. So, I mean, if he were to be convicted and found guilty of this and went to jail for sex crimes, he would have to, one, for sure go to PC, and he would be tormented if he didn't go to PC for having crimes against women. So you have the guy who sits on no jumper and is like, oh, I don't believe in violence, blah, 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 blah. I'm calling the cops if someone did this. He sexually threatened a woman and she called the FBI. You guys have the recording in the beginning of the video already. And just to loop this back in, his brother is a well-known motivational speaker, TED talker, who speaks out against violence in the Black community. So in my opinion, it seems like Poetic Flocco, how he goes out his way to talk against like crime and doing bad things, etc. He's kind of just projecting his failures or his flaws, in my opinion. So with this information, when someone calls the FBI and, they file a report, the FBI does an investigation. They're not going to not do an investigation. And this is going to put him on a watch list with the FBI. I mean, we just saw in the YSL case where they've been building the case for 10 years. They probably are building a case with Flocco, and him coming to no jumper, they're just probably stackpiling it on like, thank you, Flocco. You are a godsend. We've probably been trying to get no jumper for the longest. There's no reason they should have him around anymore. No reason. He is a liability to everyone at that office. Now, I didn't want to count this in the 4 Poetic Floccos running with the law, etc. But I found this case docket which had Dr. Umar, Poetic Flocco, and an individual by the name of Shakim listed on it. It's in regards to the Dr. Umar fake schools, and that's as much as I could see. I'll also post a link to that. It's like $50 to unlock the case. I just didn't think it was necessary, but pretty interesting. All right, now that we've covered all of Poetic Flocco's running with the law, I think it's time that we get into his beefs. I want to start with the guy by the name of Shakim, RA Exclusive. Is his YouTube channel. And he was also listed in that weird case docket that had Dr. Umar, Poetic Flocco, and the Shakim guy. But in Shakim's beef with Poetic Flocco, I found a text that Shakim posted in which Poetic Flocco told him to quit, all this internet stuff and give him the address so that he could pull up and they can shoot it out. Poetic Flocco, who on No Jumper, who has the brother who is an activist against gun violence in the black community, is telling people that he's going to spin the block on them. All the huffing and puffing he does with AD and everybody else saying, oh, I'm not that kind of guy. If someone does that, I'm going to call the cops. These people need to be in jail because they're spinning the block, blah, blah, blah. He literally threatened to spin the block. And if this guy has an open FBI, inquiry on him and he's sending gun threats and they're not doing anything about it, that's even furthers my belief that Poetic Flocco is in a kind of YSL situation. Poetic Flocco is a domestic terrorist at this point in the eyes of the FBI, I would assume. And No Jumper has a domestic terrorist running around their office, in my eyes. But hey, let's get into the next beef. All right, so let's cover the Whack 100 Poetic Flocco beef, in which Whack 100 had called into the No Jumper Monday show, the first ever episode, to air out some beef that he actually had with Jay Prince over the Larry Hoover being misused and represented issue, blah, blah, blah. Poetic Flocco decided to ask some police questions. Whack 100 got mad, called him a bitch, pussy, XYZ. But what was crazy to me is that even Whack 100 could see that this dude was a snitch. He had no prior knowledge of him and was like, yo, you on some police shit, bro. You need to chill out. But anybody who hasn't seen the video, I'm going to insert it here. Enjoy.